It's safe to say that everyone loves Spider-Man. It's hard to find a single person that genuinely doesn't like him. So when various companies see Spider-Man's success, they of course want a piece of the action. But how well do these knockoffs capture the essence of Spider-Man, his heroism, relatability and struggles, and the dedication it takes to make his city a better place after the death of his loved one? Do they truly capture what makes Spider-Man special, or make something equally as compelling or original? Or do they just use this superficial Spider-Man template to make money? That's what we're gonna answer today while we rank the absolute worst Spider-Man knockoffs to the very best using a 4-point system. If you liked the video, please leave a like, it helps a lot, and let's get to it. Before we begin though, let's go over some rules. The 4-point system goes like this. I'm gonna rank each Spider-Man knockoff based on their powers and abilities, their appearance and design, their personality and character depth, and their role in the story, with 40 being the highest possible grade. And with all that being said, before we get to the best knockoff, let's start with something worse than any ripoff imaginable. And I'm talking about the parodies, bro. Let's figure out the best one real quick. Turkish Spider-Man. He's garbage. In this, he's a villain who murders people and fights a random wrestler in Captain America. Daria Dill. Garbage. And hey, no offense, but man, what is that? You're not supposed to see the actors on a wire like that. Why did they keep that in? Italian Spider-Man was honestly pretty funny, but still did nothing for the character. Another cash grab. Spider-Plant Man was actually kinda decent. Spider-Babe is a movie that I wouldn't give to my worst enemy. And Spider-Man is also pretty cool, to be honest. But the best parody has to be Dragonfly Man from the superhero movie. Because he's not just a joke or a cash grab. He's honestly a fully realized Spider-Man knockoff with actual story elements, powers, and an origin. Like, it's dumb, but it gets it. And it resulted in a fully fleshed out parody that's often seen as his own character, which is something you cannot say about any of these other parodies. But that's my pick, what's y'all's? I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all are gonna say Spider-Man. That one is pretty cool. But okay, this is where the real list begins. Coming in as the actual worst Spider-Man ripoff is Redback. This one can be summed up in one word. Okay, 2 words. And she's not even that bad. Her design is actually pretty cool. She's based off of a real redback spider. But instead of being just black and red, it looks like she's different shades of red. Her eyes glow orange, and she has 4 eyes instead of 2, which not a lot of spider people can pull that off. And her color scheme is cool and a little menacing, which makes sense since she's a villain, and I like that. She deserves a 7. But the reason she's the worst is because there's no ambition behind her. DC did not care when they made this character. She only appears in 2 to 3 pages, poses, and then runs up to get done up by Robin and is never seen again. So when it comes to her role in the story, she gets a 1 because she was just used as an extremely easy obstacle for Robin to overcome. In terms of personality, a 2. Before she gets defeated, all she says is, "You'll never get past my needles, Robin." But then he ends up using them against her. And speaking of that, she gets a 4 for her powers because no one actually knows what her actual powers are. We only know that she has retractable venom stingers that can kill you with 1 cut like it's Akame got killed, which is pretty cool, but when it's used against you on your debut comic, that's not a good look, you know what I mean? So yeah, she gets a 4 here, and the final score is a 14. She's a cool character, but completely forgettable. But hey, you can sleep on these next couple knockoffs. But one thing you cannot sleep on are the giveaways on Encore, the sponsor of this video. And right now, not only can you win Spider-Man comics, but also a brand new Hyrule Edition Nintendo Switch Lite for free. Just the other day, they had a free PlayStation, but I'll get to that soon. First, if you haven't heard of the app yet, I got you. It's like if TikTok combined with an online auction. Real sellers show you what they're selling, and many actually share stories or knowledge about the comics for sale, so you can learn while you shop. There's a ton of fixed listings in the buy now section, and if you're looking to negotiate, you can always send the seller an offer. But the best thing about the app is its auctions. Let me show you how bidding works real quick. You just swipe to bid, or you can set your max bid and the system bids up automatically. You can get into literal bidding wars depending on how rare the comic or game station, whatever you're trying to get, is. You get get last minute bids flying in, and some people even start trash talking in the live chat. It gets crazy and low-key addicting. And another thing that I love about this is that since the sellers are required to show you videos of what they're selling, this just increases the trust within the app. Not only that, but all sellers are ID verified. And the Encore guarantee protects you if your item comes in not as described. There's a ton of giveaways in the app that are completely free to enter, and Encore themselves even pay for giveaway shipping. So if you win, you don't pay anything. And once you enter, you can increase your chances of winning and get 5 extra giveaway entries for each one friend you share the giveaway link with and they join the giveaway. I'm telling you, man, this is a great app. Use my link down below, or you can use this QR code as well to download the app on iOS and Android app stores today. But okay, let's get back to the video. The next bad, forgettable knockoff is actually someone that left an impact on popular culture, though indirectly, and that is Web Woman. Because Filmation, a company in the 70s, saw Spider-Man's success and made this character to try to bank off of it like many others. But they crossed the line, because originally they were gonna name her Spider-Woman. And you know Marvel, they didn't let that slide. And as soon as they heard of a company doing this, they instantly created their own Spider-Woman just so they could copyright the name. Thus, Web Woman was born. She got a show in 1978, but it stopped airing after 10 episodes and she was quickly forgotten. As far as her role in the story goes, she has the most generic superhero role ever. And it might be because she's just a product of her time, you know? But it's so formulaic. She defeats a villain, tells him to respect insects, and that's it. So she gets a 5 here for at least being the main character, but everything she does isn't nearly as interesting as Spider-Man or Spider-Woman. And speaking of interesting, her personality isn't really all that either. All she talks about is nature and insects, which can be really cool, but whenever she talks, it's very boring. Dang, I feel kind of mean, I'm sorry. But yeah, still, she gets a 4 here. And the only power I see that she really has is her ability to communicate with all insect life. Because to be honest, she's more like a nature-loving Batman that spider theme, because she relies more on her gadgets and tech to get the job done. She also got a power ring that can shoot these web force fields, who she got from a dying alien insect in the same exact way as Green Lantern did. So as you can see, she's drawing inspiration from a lot of different characters, but is still trying to use Spider-Man's fame in order to get more popular. But her powers are cool, but they're still nothing special, so I'm gonna give her a 5. And her leotard with all those W's on it just is not cutting it for me, bro. I'm gonna give her a 4. So overall, she gets an 18. I'm sorry. 2 less than someone who doesn't even have a real role in any story, and that's Agent Spider from Invincible. And don't get me wrong, I really like him. I think he should get his own spin-off, because even though we don't know anything about him, he's automatically getting a 7 personality-wise, and that's solely because of his voice. I don't know about y'all, but the Spectacular Spider-Man was my shit back in the day. And since he's voiced by the same person that did Peter in that show and acts almost the same way, he gets an instant 7, man, I'm sorry. And appearance-wise, an 8, he looks good.
Pause.
His costume is sleek and tactical, like Spider-Man, but like the covert ops or something. And it incorporates the webbing really well, bro. It's not bad. But this is where all the praise stops, because he only has 1 appearance and he doesn't do anything in the story. He doesn't progress it. If anything, he makes things worse for Mark, because he distracts him from thinking of a plan or something for whenever he does get back to his own dimension to defeat Levi. And plus, we all know why he's here instead of Spider-Man. So I've gotta give him a 3, because even though I like him a lot and I want to see more from him, he doesn't do anything for the story. And powers wise, apparently they're the exact same as Spider-Man's, so I'm gonna give him a 2 here as well, since it doesn't add anything unique except for the fact that he puts 3 different fingers up when shooting his webs. So he's a great knockoff with a lot of potential, honestly. But since he just isn't used at all, I gotta make his final score a 20. But coming in next is someone who is kind of a blurred line between a parody and a knockoff. And that person is Brown Spider from the Venture Bros. I've never heard of this man until a couple days ago, but he's not bad. He's actually kind of cool. He is a pretty minor character in the show overall, only showing up here and there, defeating bad guys, stuff like that. But unlike Agent Spider, sadly, he has shown up more and has screwed over some major characters and their plans a couple times, to be honest. Because he's not just a Spider-Man knockoff, but he's also representing the idea of underappreciated heroes in the show. He's a really good guy and does everything he can for the greater good. And that shows with his actions and how much he does throughout the series every time he stops a bank robbery or just helps out random civilians civilians. So he's getting a 5 for his role in the story, because I really want to reward that. Which brings us to his personality. He just wants to do the right thing, bro. He shares a lot of parallels with Spider-Man, him having an adult bully, which is wild.
How about I show you around? I'm something of a big man on campus around here.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
Hey, lover boy! What are you working for the weekend?
Him choosing not to use his powers and fears of revealing his identity, and always trying to save people with the utmost confidence. He has no problem putting himself under the bus to help others, and he even goes as far as giving advice to sad civilians when he can. Like, he deserves nothing but a 10 here, because he manages to be just like Spider-Man in a world where actual good superheroes are pretty hard to come by.
Have a mom.
Oh, your dad, Dad.
No.
Look, it's Captain Sunshine. He's back.
Oh, thank goodness. He'll clean up the crime in this
Just,
city.
you know, get him away from my kid. That's all I'm saying, right?
Plus, I gotta admit, he chooses to do all of this with the cards he was dealt. And let me tell you, bro, his cards are not the best. After a freak accident with a spider, he gained all the powers of Spider-Man. But he actually has organic webbing that he shoots from his lower back, and has 6 to 8 eyes that he covers with his hair. This is the most literal powers for a Spider-Man. So that's not the best, but his presentation was so amazing that I'm gonna give him a 5 in this department. But sadly, all good things must come to an end. And when it comes to this man's looks, bro, it's just not it. Like, if this dude comes and tries to save me, I'm running towards the danger. It's gonna be a 3. Spider-Man's colors make you feel happy, you know what I mean? There's a lot of color theory around it, but outside of orange, he's using all of the colors that you just don't want to use when it comes to a hero. Only specific people can pull brown off, which is gonna give him a final score of 23. The same score as our next entry, Web Weaver from The Boys. And at first, I'll admit, I thought they just took everything that was cool about Spider-Man and just threw it away, bro. I never really liked Web Weaver in the show, but after thinking about it, he's actually a pretty cool character and is pretty crucial in both mediums, even though he barely has any screen time. In the comic, he's not affiliated with any superhero teams and only shows up to be caught by this ragtag group of individuals in order for them to receive funding to actually form the Boys we know and love today. So without him, they would have never became the Boys to begin with. This all took place before the events of the entire comic run. While in the show, he was a pretty good investigator, but he was also a junkie that was into some different stuff, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, really get it up in there, dog.
Still, he was able to get a lot of inside information about Firecracker in exchange for drugs, but then died once Homelander realized that he actually wasn't the leak he was looking for and was paid off to lie. So honestly, in both mediums, he played a key role that progressed the story more. So despite his lack of screen time, I've gotta give him a 6 because he played a small but crucial part in each story. But the best thing about him is his personality. Can y'all imagine how terrible it would be if Spider-Man took a different route? He let the fame get to his head or couldn't heal from the death of his loved ones, you know what I mean? And he turned to drugs, spiraled into self-destruction. It's dark, but that's what Web Weaver is in both mediums. And that's why I think it's pretty cool, because it's kind of like a what if episode with Spider-Man. They even changed Uncle Ben, apparently he's gay. So I'm gonna give him a 7 here because they went a different route. I do not like the appearance though. He looks better than whatever this thing is. But it's not all that, to be honest. Like, in both mediums, he just looks mediocre. Kinda derpy even, but it's still passable. So I'm gonna give him a 5. And I'm also gonna give him the same score power-wise, because he can do everything Spider-Man can do, but he actually has organic webbing. So instead of shooting them out of his wrists, he shoots it through a little hole above his bottom, almost like a literal spider. It's a generic idea, but the way it's portrayed in the show is so unforgettable.
Oh, what the fuck?
That I'm gonna give him a 5 here as well. So overall, a 23, and that's not bad. Coming in with an overall score of 30 is a pretty quick entry because he still doesn't appear that much, but this thing is worth mentioning. In a post-apocalyptic world where the superheroes are now called gods, have destroyed human civilization and taken over the planet, the few humans who oppose these gods are dubbed 10-seconders because that's how long they are expected to last if they come into contact with them, thus the comic run's name. And I won't spoil anything about the story. All you gotta know is that Arachne does not play a big role at all, but he definitely does add to it. He is a major obstacle for the main characters to overcome in the first and second half of the comic. and only died in the hands of another god. So I'm gonna give him a 6 for this section because he's not that important, but at the same time, he still kind of is. But as far as his personality goes, an easy 9 because he is straight up the creepiest version of Spider-Man in the best way. As soon as anyone pulls up, he's like, "You shouldn't have come to this neighborhood. It's really not that friendly." Which is crazy, that's a clear nod to Spidey. And he jokes around as well, but he's mostly a murderous, ambitious god that wants to become the leader of gods. So it's that ambition. And he's also creepy as It's an easy 9, not a 10, but an easy 9. I love this take. And this creepiness only gets elevated by his appearance. If I see this thing walking or crawling up to me, I'll fucking out of here. I gotta go. An easy 8. It's not a 10 because he still looks kind of simplistic, but he gets no less than an 8. And lastly, his powers. I actually have no idea what he can do, but it's clear that he can create webs and has multiple appendages that he uses to just murder people, dude. And can wall crawl. So I'm gonna give him a 7 because he's more like an actual spider from what I see, which is generic, but the creepy presentation bumps him up a bit, I've gotta admit. So his final score is a 30, which is a step up from everybody else so far. But he gets beaten out by our next character on the list and the start of the truly best Spider-Man knockoffs. Coming in at number 5, we got Black Spider from DC. He's a Batman villain who's portrayed completely different across different mediums for no reason, or at least I couldn't find it. But my guess is to just keep audiences entertained.
Aw, now why'd old Rick just have to break up that tender scene? I was so enjoying seeing Cheshire's softer side.
Now, a couple of people took the mantle of Black Spider, but Eric Needham was the first and most beloved. And right off the bat, his personality is a 9 because he is so different from Spider-Man. He made it his life mission to kill every drug dealer in Gotham because when he was a kid, his mom died and his dad distanced himself from everyone, leaving him to turn to the streets and get addicted to heroin. Once, while under the influence, he robbed a store and killed someone, but was shocked to see that the person he shot was his own father. But he didn't realize it because he was so out of it. Now he's getting vengeance for every life that was ruined by drugs, specifically heroin. So he's not a full-blown villain, but he does work with villains every now and then to take down Batman. But this is why his personality is a 9 and his role in the story is an 8, because he's surprisingly in a lot of comics. And his dynamic with Batman is legit, because they're butting heads over how they protect their city, kind of like Batman and Red Hood. And when you consider the fact that he can keep up with the likes of Batman and often has him on the ropes, killed multiple people on Bat's watch, and even made Bruce question his whole reasoning for even being the Batman every night, I can't help but give him his props here. And his appearance is an 8 too, because I honestly like every costume he has, but the most unique thing about him is his power set, because he has none. He's just an extremely flexible dude and is in peak condition. He's also a great marksman and uses a wrist pistol to get the job done, and he swings around with a grappling hook. So even though I really like this character, I'm gonna give him a 6 here because even though it's pretty unique for a Spider-Man clone to not have any spider powers, it's also pretty boring. So overall, he gets a 31. But beating him by 1 point is DC's Sideways. And wow, that's like the 3rd entry from DC. He was created and marketed as the Spider-Man and America Chavez of DC because he's a teenage loner who is extremely important to the plot of almost every story he's in because of his power set. Like American Chavez, but to a lesser degree since she's broken, he has the ability to open up rifts through space and travel anywhere he wants and to any dimension. He can also track specific people just by looking at them, and the rift automatically opens to their location. He can dismember someone if he closes a rift while someone is still in the portal, can use the rips in the fabric of space-time as a shield to block attacks, and if he creates a rift inside of a rift, it will explode and cause a black hole, and he has super strength and durability. Like, this dude is a 9. He would be a monster if he uses this power to its full potential. He also gets an 8 for his role in the story too, since he's literally the reason why anyone goes anywhere important in his comic and he freed key people that ultimately saved the lives of everyone in the dimension filled with monsters. But sadly, he kinda got canceled. His book just wasn't selling, so he hasn't appeared in anything since. And because of that, I've gotta give him an 8. And now his design, I honestly love it. I gotta be honest, he looks so unique and techie. It's weird how he didn't get more popular, because if you're looking to make a teenage loner hero who will be important to almost every story going forward, who better to model him off of than the most famous teenager in comic history? So I'm gonna give him an 8 here as well. And his personality is a 7. I like it, but you can tell he was canceled too soon before he could experience any real character growth. You know, his humor and energy, you know, he was a lot like Spider-Man, but he just didn't have enough time to become his own character beyond the DC Spider-Man comparisons. Overall, his score is a 32. It's a shame he got canceled. Coming in at number 3, we have the last American Spider-Man knockoff, and that is Hunt from Image Comics. And without a doubt, this dude is one of the best. Created by the minds behind Invincible and Spawn, Hunt is like a bunch of tropes rolled into one spider-shaped package, because he's not just one man, it's 2 brothers combined. Here's some background. It starts with his younger brother, a down-on-his-luck priest who likes to spend time with women of the night, if you know what I mean. And he hates his older brother with a passion. Then we cut to the older brother, a globe-trotting secret agent. Why is he hated? Well, it's because he did too much. He stole his little brother's fiance, and then he cheated on her multiple times, and even tried to ditch her entirely to run off with another woman. But before he could embrace that inner sliminess, he actually did something pretty heroic on a mission and died. But then, without no rhyme or reason, his soul gets bonded to the one person who despises him the most, his younger brother. This is extremely similar to Marvel's Hitmonkey, and strangely enough, they both debuted around the same time. Personality-wise, when combined, Hunt is edgy, like I'm talking peak early 2000s edgy. But both brothers experience solid character growth. The younger one learns what it takes to be a hero, while the older one learns how terrible he was when he was alive, and acts like a coach to his younger brother. It's pretty interesting until a new creative team came over and ruined everything, because they didn't build on what the previous creative team made. So I would have given him an 8 out of 10 here, but I've got to give him a 7. But he is gonna get an 8 for his role in the story, because Hunt is pretty important in every comic he's in. But honestly, the best thing about him is his appearance and his powers. Forget all that other stuff. Just look at him. He looks clean. The exposed jaw, which is different, like I'm not gonna lie, it was a little jarring at first when I saw it, but I got used to it and now I actually kind of like it. But the cool thing is that his suit is made from pure ectoplasm. That's what he generates whenever his older brother merges with his younger brother's body. And it basically works as Carnage's symbiote, because he can form webs, blades, spikes, wings. Whatever he can think of, he can form. But he's also incredibly fast and unpredictable. And that's why I say he's closer to Carnage. Not only that, but he has superhuman strength, speed, reflexes, all that. And what's crazy is that his older brother literally acts like his spider sense, because he's always watching his surroundings at all times. So overall, I gotta admit, this is a pretty cool and unique take for a Spider-Man knockoff. Great design, solid powers, compelling premise. It's pretty cool. But that creative team change is what held him back. Something I cannot say about our number 2 pick, the Crawler from My Hero Academia. And this one's tricky. Fans believe him to be a knockoff, but the actual proof of this is actually up in the air. So by the end of this entry, y'all can decide for yourselves if you consider him a knockoff or not. But I personally think he is.
You are the father!
Let's get the easy segment out of the way. His appearance is decent. No matter how much I like him, there's only so far you can go with the My Hero starter pack, bro. It's more so who he aspires to be like, or a placeholder for his real costume that only looks decent, to be honest, nothing special. But it still gets the job done, so I'm gonna give him a 5. Everything else though, 10s all around. And this is where he's a lot like Spider-Man and in some ways better. His role in the story, a 10. Of course he's the main character, right? But more importantly, like yours truly, he makes lasting impacts on the world around him. He proves that even vigilantes can become true heroes if they work for it. And in one arc, he's the only person who can save his neighborhood from number 6. One of the fastest villains alive that can also produce explosive clones, has cybernetic enhancements, and multiple forms. No other pro hero could stop him, and after this he was recognized by the pro heroes and finally became one himself. Just like when Spider-Man did something similar was recognized by the Avengers and eventually became an Avenger. It's such a great story, man. Easy 10. Another reason why people compare him to Spider-Man is because of his personality. He is straight up the everyman. He didn't plan on being a vigilante. He just put on his All Might hoodie and COVID mask and just started helping people, guiding lost kids home, picking up litter. Small acts of kindness like that, you know? He just wanted to do good, even after he was rejected by the hero school or told he was creepy by everybody around him. He kept going. He's selfless to the core and would much rather be a quote-unquote small-time guy than a big-time hero. That's anime Spider-Man. Plus, the character development he gets is just amazing, dude. Last thing about this dude is his powers, and this is where it gets crazy. Because not only is he like Spider-Man, but he's also a mix between him and a speedster, which already earns him a 10. Because his quirk is slide and glide, which sounds like something you'd find at an Adam and Eve store, if you know what that is, which allows him to project an attractive and repulsive force from his hands and feet. But at the start, he could only do so if 3 of his appendages was touching any surface. In the beginning, he's basically like a human skateboard who can stick to walls, but by the end of the story, he can easily reach Mach 1 speeds just by sliding. But he can also fly using air dashes. He can create small force fields for both offense and defense and can deflect almost any attack. His agility is on par with or even better than Spider-Man's, and he even has his own spider sense. Y'all remember what Spider-Man was doing in that Doctor Strange movie? That's exactly what he can do. His body can just move on its own. To be honest, I'd say it's closer to Ultra Instinct more than anything, but you get the idea. Absolute 10, dude. I don't even fully understand his powers, to be honest, which gives us a final score of 35. 5 points away from a perfect score. So is he a knockoff? Would y'all consider him one? Let me know. But with that being said, let's get to our honorable mentions. And y'all already know what it is. No script, let's get to it. The Fly from Archie Comics and also DC Comics. The reason he doesn't have a placement is because he's technically not a knockoff. He came before Spider-Man. He's just kind of seen as a knockoff because Spider-Man just grew way more in terms of popularity. Spider-Man might have gotten some ideas from him and not see the Spider from DC. He's pretty cool, but he's not a ripoff at all. I kind of thought he was at first, but he's really not. He's his own character. Night Monkey, which is crazy. Black Tarantula is pretty cool, but I had to cut him. And I also had to take out a lot of other characters too. And some characters that are worth mentioning is Invincible, Static Shock, especially Static, because a lot of people say that he's DC's Spider-Man, not because of the spider powers, but because he's a teenager and other things like that, right? But of course, I'm not gonna include teenage superheroes in this, because it's one thing to be inspired and another thing to be an actual knockoff. And these are not knockoffs, they're their own characters. But the very best and my personal favorite that I wish I could have put on here is Stealth the Hedgehog. The dude's legit, bro. I don't even know nothing about him, but he's just cool. I like Sonic. But alright, number 1. For the very best Spider-Man knockoff ever is someone that takes the Spider-Man formula and makes it its own in the most smashing way possible.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
That's right. I'm sorry guys, I'm talking about the Leopard from Lime Street. Straight from Great Britain, bro. And this guy takes the cake in every single category. Out of all the comics I read researching this video, none of them had me as hooked as this one did. Let's get to his personality. Our boy Billy Framer, he is 13 years old, the same age as Miles Morales in a lot of stories and shows. He lives with his version of Uncle Ben and Aunt May, except this time Aunt May is actually like a sickly woman who constantly needs medicine to survive, and Uncle Ben is an abusive, sneaky deadbeat who straight up hits both Billy and May multiple times. He feels scared just being at home. Not only that, but he gets bullied at school too. His life is literally like the dude from Chronicle, except instead of turning into a villain when he got his superpowers, Billy turned into a hero who saves everyone, even his bullies. He consistently chooses to do the right thing. He puts up with his uncle's abuse just to protect his secret identity. He makes money selling pictures of his version of J. Jonah, who is a lot more evil here, by the way. And the first thing he did when he starts getting money is buy his aunt a TV set. See, he always does things like this. He has money problems and all that, but he also has to deal with a parental figure who beats him almost every day. But I will admit, he's more angrier. And I guess that's because of the Leopard influence, right? But he's an angry dude. He's kind of like Raphael. but it's pretty cool. He's getting a 10 here. Plus he says words like smashing and crumpets, man. That's awesome. It reminds me of Austin Powers. But what powers did he gain, you may ask? Well, he has the proportionate speed, strength, durability, all that of a full-size leopard. His sight and hearing is heightened. Can wall crawl, though not as good as Spider-Man's, and he has a grappling hook and even a leopard sense that acts just like spider sense. And now low-key, all of these powers would probably sound lame. They probably do sound lame if he didn't use them the way he does. This man is the ultimate underdog, dude. He is so creative. He outsmarts every villain he comes across. What he does sometimes is take out the lights, and since he can see in the dark, because he also has night vision, I forgot to say that, then he knows where everyone is, plus his eyes also glow green. So he scares the heebie-jeebies out of everybody in the room and forces them to give him information or intimidates them just enough for them to run away. He does things like that throughout the entire comic with all of his powers. So because he makes the most out of an otherwise simple power set, he's gonna get an A here. His role in the story is an easy 10. His stories feel just like classic Spider-Man, but the only place he's lacking is his appearance. Like, he's just a 13-year-old in a onesie, bro. But this costume doesn't have to be the best because of what it represents. You know, unlike Koichi from My Hero, his costume actually represents who he is from the start, and it's also homemade too, just like Spider-Man's, and it gets the job done. It's so compelling that it effortlessly brings you into his world while also making you appreciate what you love about Spider-Man at the same time. And that is why the Leopard of Lime Street is the best Spider-Man ripoff ever. I swear though, if y'all manage to find a knockoff that's better, let me know in the comments. I want y'all to challenge me, like for real, challenge me. And also tell me what y'all think down below. Do you agree with the list? And who is your favorite Spider-Man knockoff? Let me know in the comments below. And also here's a couple updates. I'm not gonna lie, I am sorry for the slowdown on the videos. I've been going through it these last 2 months. February and March, crazy. But I'm starting to get back into it. So what I'm gonna do is focus on making more videos, being more consistent, and then I'll go into shorts and stuff, you know, because I'm a one-man army and it's gonna be hard to find an editor that matches like my style, you know what I mean? So yeah, with all that being said, thank you all for watching this video and I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace out.